Let's meet the women behind the millionaires, the women supporting, guiding, celebrating women with their wealth. You will hear from women millionaires, how they got there, what they wish they had known, what got them to be a millionaire, the emotional side, the spiritual side, the practical side of wealth. You'll also get to meet the women behind the scenes helping make it happen. Let's dive into Women Behind the Millions. I am Jessica Weaver, your host, best-selling author of 3 books, wealth advisor, and founder of the Women's Wealth Boutique. Let's start meeting the women. Hello, ladies. Welcome back to Women Behind the Millions. I am your host, Jessica Weaver, a founder and owner of Pink Fix Productions and also the Wealth Boutique. We are at our season finale of our Rise and Find season. I have thoroughly enjoyed getting to know these incredible women, all part of our newest anthology book at Pink Fix Productions, Rise and Find, which has come out November 14th. And we are here to celebrate. We have an incredible guest with us tonight. And she shared with me her favorite quote. And this is also the quote that starts her chapter off. And it's very on point for what her story entails. So it's Maya Angelou. You may not control all the things that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. And her story is all about the diamond in the rough, the beauty in the storm, and kind of not regretting things, really embracing what life is throwing at you and how to navigate many storms as you're going through it. It's such a powerful story. She's so vulnerable as she's sharing it. And we're going to talk about grief today. We're going to talk about triumph. We're going to talk about navigating, keeping a family stable while going through one of the toughest times of your life as well. I was just talking with our creative director, Alyssa Goman, before this episode recording, and we're saying, we all have different things that we are dealing with. And it is our decision, just as Maya Angelou says, to keep showing up for ourselves and for the people around us. Or you can do the latter and be reduced by it. Let it overtake you. Be the victim of it. And I'm not saying by showing it means you're not going to grieve. You're not going to be sad, angry, have a full-fledged of emotions. But it's still showing up in your highest. Your highest might be in pajamas, sitting on the couch. Your highest might be, leading support groups and giving back and really building and carving out this legacy for you. When we work with women, we can notice right away if they're the people that, and we love working with these women, that they show up no matter what, right? They don't let themselves to stay down for too long. They come back up. They're go-getters. They're action takers as well. And we love introducing different modalities to that healing process when you are in grief. When Veronica Rogers, one of our advisors at the Wealth Boutique, she dealt with the series of loved ones passing over the period of 1 to 2 years. And it was, several loved ones close to her. She took on breath work and she learned how breath work can help her navigate those times. So we're also going to touch on that too. What are these different ways to help you during those moments when you really don't feel like you can get off the couch or face the day, face work, face your children even. So with us tonight, we have Jaclyn Hoffman. She's a licensed mental health counselor specializing in grief and trauma. She's a grief coach, empowering widows to navigate healing through grief, rediscover themselves, and embrace love again. She's a licensed counselor and grief coach. So let's welcome to the stage Jaclyn Hoffman. Hello, Jaclyn. How are you tonight?
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on. Thank you for being a huge part of Rise and Find. I'm going to do a quick promo. Let's do a quick shout out.
Women, we wear many hats. Mother, professional, partner, leader, but what if we didn't have to fit into a box? Introducing Rise and Find, an ambitious woman's guide to building her dream life. A powerful new anthology written by 13 inspiring women who have dared to dream bigger, push boundaries, and break free from limitations. Inside these pages, you'll find actionable advice on everything from personal growth and financial wellness to career advancement and self-care, all from the women who have mastered their fields. Whether you're looking to elevate your career, nurture your relationships, or reclaim your personal power, Rise and Find has the tools and inspiration you need to build your dream life. Get your copy of Rise and Find and join the movement of ambitious women rising together. Your dream life is waiting. Let's rise together.
Jaclyn, what does it feel like to see this book being birthed? being
It feels surreal. We talked about that moments ago. It's such a great opportunity to be able to put my story out there. I know it's unique to me. It might be unique to some, but I know there are other people that are also doing some of the things that I do. So I have to, give them a shout out too, for their strength and their resiliency as well. But to be able to put out this story is going to be, I feel like it's a game changer for a lot of women. So I'm excited. It's great.
It's incredible to hear your story, and there's a lot of, your story is just courage and love and resiliency, as you just mentioned too. And there's different components to it. This season, this book, there's so many women who left the corporate world to build something of their own, to have their own assets, their own business, and doing it on their own terms. So that really seems to be a theme and tied throughout it. You did that while also dealing with a personal tragedy, tragedy, um, taking care of your family as well. But let's start from the beginning. You are a mental health professional.
Yes.
What led you into that field?
You know what? My high school had a psychology class. I was maybe a senior at the time, and yeah, just it opened my eyes to understand like how people think and how people behave. I think my just my personality growing up too, I was more like that quiet listening. My friends would come to me for advice, so I think it was kind of already like in my DNA, I guess, in some way. But going to that psychology class, I loved that. And then I was also an art student. So I loved art, and my guidance counselor said, "Why don't you do art therapy?" I tried to go away to school, didn't quite work out, but I stayed with the plan that I'm going to do psychology. So I ended up going to school for psychology, and I pursued my master's. So yeah.
Did you know any therapists? Anybody in your family?
No, and I never had the experience of, working with one myself growing up. It was just maybe just the idea of helping. Um, I just like to be able to provide service, and I think it was just my calling, so I just stayed with it.
To find your passion at such a young age is incredible. Jaclyn, after leaving school, you ventured out. Was it on the corporate side? What did your career look like in the beginning?
It was. So, I was I worked in Atlantic City for about 10 years, building my experience as someone that just came right out of grad school. So I wasn't licensed yet. Had a lot of experience, a lot of great experience, met a lot of different people, from my colleagues to, even the clients that were coming in. I just had a passion seeing the change. It was definitely a very stressful environment because it was crisis. It was a lot of crisis work. So a lot of very, very vulnerable people coming in that were likely to be hospitalized. So that was a taxing job emotionally. It was just something that, over time you could, if you didn't have the right self-care, you would burn out. I went from that. Oh, I went to part-time while I was there, and I started doing in-home counseling, and I really liked that. That was, through the state of New Jersey, and, I had envisioned I was subcontracted. At that time, I had my license, and I was subcontracted to work in homes with families and just providing, just starting to create my practice actually, because I envisioned to have, other clinicians under me working alongside me, and we were going to work together doing the same thing because that's what I was doing. This one I was subcontracted, and it came to a screeching halt in October of 2019. I, was working slowly. I did leave the corporate world beforehand. My husband was not happy about that. He was a lot of changes financially and all that stuff, but he was like, chase your dream. That's like, he encouraged it, and he was an encourager in that way. Um, and yeah, I had some of my big goals, but it changed. And so, my husband had passed. I ended up taking a breather. I had to, stop. So I ended up, just reevaluating that with my children. We were coming up on COVID, a few months later, and that's where, a lot of time to just reflect. Um, Maybe it was somewhat a blessing for me. I know not for many, but I was able to pour more time into what I need to do to take care of myself. And that's what I was doing. But I kind of got back into the game about, I guess it was 2021. I started seeing clients at the shopping centers. They recognized me. They were like, how you been? Are you going to be going back to work? And I felt like that was a nudge. And I was like, I gotta get back into it. So yeah. I started seeing them through telehealth. I didn't have quite an office space yet. And I was doing some other, just busy work. Still, again, focusing on my children and taking care of my grief as well. But then I ended up scoring a beautiful place. Downstairs is an acupuncturist. I'm upstairs from her office and in Chip Bottom, and I couldn't be happier with the opportunity. So I'm sorry, my son is starting to. I'm gonna close my blind just a little bit, so the lighting can throw off. Yeah, sorry. It allowed me to actually really evaluate, because from what I was doing, the vision of being a counselor and having a team work next to me, or I'm going up and down to state of New Jersey doing in-homes. I mean, this is like night and day. What I do now, I've taken on things that I've done to help myself and my grief journey and poured it into my practice. And I have launched a monthly widows group that has been going for a good year and a half now, once a month. And I have a lovely, group of women that come in and we talk. It's just an open share. And then I was able to introduce some modalities that I never really used when I was doing the in homes and all that. So I was able to incorporate. So I had more flexibility and more creativity. And it was just really, again, I saw it as an opportunity just to continue to provide service and to help, women. I do see some men as well, but primarily I work with women, and a lot of them are widows that come in, so I can help support them on their journey.
Oh, beautiful. You talk in your chapter about, the storm, finding the beauty in it, and what it's led to. I do want to backtrack a little bit here. Your husband passed away. How old was he? Oh my gosh,
He was a month shy of being 41.
41.
Yeah,
Very,
that's unexpected.
very young. And he was a police officer as well.
He was a police officer. He was, if I calculate correctly, about 16 years at that point. So we were talking like retirement was a plan. We had some visions. We had some things that we were planning, and he was looking to, continue. He had a side business too. So that was another thing to mention. He, when I say he was my cheerleader, he was doing his own, he was excavating and he was growing this business alongside of being a police officer. So, and he was a farmer. So he had a lot of hats. And he was, very, jack of all trades, but, he envisioned to grow his, and, I was learning from him. He was kind of like helping me, coaching me on like this, like he helped me create my LLC and all that stuff.
So the entrepreneurial side of things, he was coaching you through it all. How were your children when he passed away?
So when he passed, my oldest guy, he was 13. He was just about 14 years of age. And my other guy was 11.
11. Very young. And in your chapter, you talk about the moment of telling your children that have
Yeah.
gut-wrenching, Jaclyn. I can't even imagine. My husband's a police officer, and the last week we were actually talking. He's felt this nudge to write us a letter, myself and the kids. And he doesn't know where it's kind of stemming from and what's going through there, but you, being a wife of a police officer, it's always on your mind that this could happen.
100%.
More so a firefighter, a military, any of those first responders with it. So my heart goes out to you, Jaclyn, and your family. How are your boys doing? Yeah.
They're great, and I say that I check in with them. I try not to put my counselor hat on all the time. They don't want to hear mom all the time, but there are times if I see that things are kind of like, a little out of the ordinary, I might ask them. Um, One thing that stood out for me, my younger guy, he didn't show as much emotion. My other one, he was a little bit more emotional.
Sure.
In the sense, I guess, was worried about me too. So I felt like even my older guy became more parentified. But he was also kind of mature for his age as well. Uh, but one thing that stood out for me when I asked Connor, when he was 11, I said, how are you? And I think I was still in like the thick of my grief. And I even asked him, like, how do you do this? Like, how are you doing this? Like, how are you able to function? And his response was, dad had to do that when he lost his dad. So short backstory. Alex, my husband, his dad had passed away, but Alex was, he was in his 20s at the time. So he was an adult. He wasn't a kid, but Connor's response,
Way.
what's that?
It's still a young age for his father to pass away.
Oh, 100%. Yes. But the fact he was, he was an adult at the time. We actually had our children. So Connor was young. Connor, it was even like, he might have been like 3 at that point. Actually, I'm thinking of his brother. So I'm sorry. There was a lot of traumas in the family, unfortunately. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm blending them. That happens. Yeah. So Alex's dad, back to him, kids were not born. So sorry. It was before we even got married. But when I said to Connor, like, how do you do this? How are you able to kind of figure this out for you? And he's like, dad lost his dad. So, if he was able to do it, I can do it too. So I think that's pretty strong, in a resilient young child to say something, so powerful.
Yeah, that it's observant and to on those things and what your husband, their father had taught them. That's such an impression that was left on them.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, his father hadn't been around at the time when the kids were born, but he was able to see that, Alex was, well-rounded father, was, just very, worked very hard, and he poured it on the children and they noticed.
Financially, I'm thinking, be an advisor myself, where you were able to take time to slowly build back a practice for yourself, have time with your kids. It's also COVID. That threw everything wonky as well. Financially, were you all set up that you were able to do that and not stress over the money?
Yeah, I think part of you didn't leave the house, for most time. So like a lot, yes. I have a lot of gratitude because I know there's a lot of people that didn't have that. And, I have a lot of gratitude for the fact that I was able to take the time to just process. I didn't feel like I had to all right, I'm glad to get back into work. And there was a lot of different things as a counselor too that we were going through. I say we as other, mental health practitioners that were facing, during that time, we were moving towards telehealth. It's more of a thing now, but we were given privileges to be able to really move into it and utilize it as a service because people couldn't really easily get to places to get help. I did not do that because there was a boundary for me. I had to take time for myself. I had to take time for my children. I was navigating a lot of new terrain, from the things, like I said, I say he, because he was the one that elected to get animals and stuff, a farm. I had to figure that stuff out. I had to figure out his stuff. I had to figure out, even, what to make for, the meal the next day. So, my battery was very short and I needed to take that time to be able to replenish as much as I could.
And those are pivotal ages just in the classroom, and then to be in the virtual side of things, to have lost their father. I I'm glad that you're able to do that. How about his excavation business? Were there loose ends that you had to tie up there as well?
There were, yeah, so he had equipment and, obviously the business did dissolve. I wasn't able to, I wasn't gonna try and even entertain that. I was trying to figure out my own stuff, even my own grief. So I had to, you know, move relatively quick. I did have some, financial guidance. So that was something. We had an accountant. She's family extension of our family. So she's someone I was able to just reach out to. Some of the things were like very like, pulling a Band-Aid off, it wasn't like, what should I do? It was more like, this is what you need to do to help make decisions. You know, but yeah, so in terms of his business itself, I just couldn't sustain that. I wasn't going to try to. It
Mhm.
was kind of beyond my knowledge base, in terms of how do you operate a machine and all that. But
Sure. My mom has a dear friend, and she lost her husband, and he was in construction, and he was old school. So he didn't write anything down, right? It was all up here who owed him.
oh yeah,
Yes, she's like, "I think there's around 1 to 200,000 in invoices, outstanding invoices. I don't really know how to track them all down." I do. So I was curious.
yeah. Yeah, well, he had passed with some like, a piece of paper, and it was troubleshooting. I give a lot of credit to my mother. She had to put up with me with my, like, my moods going like this because I was navigating grief and, but she was someone that helped as well and to help navigate this stuff. But yeah, it's crazy. Like, again, we weren't prepared. There was no sign. There was nothing that, sprung up that, I know some people are able to prepare when their family members or their partner is terminally ill or, I'm not saying they were in a better spot, but there was again some preparation. For me, it was just like all of a sudden, it was like a light switch, all of a sudden like you're in a different place, um, unexpectedly.
You brought up different modalities to help with self-care and how important self-care is during these times. What are some that you embraced?
Wow. So early on, I know like just the relaxing meditation was a big thing for me.
Mhm.
When Alex passed, I had, my supports, like some of my friends, one in particular, she would just show up at my house, didn't take no for an answer, but she wasn't one that would came in and like force me to talk to her. Like she's like, I'm gonna take care of the chickens. She and Alex were friends. Her name was Christy, and she like, I'm gonna come over and take care of them. Don't do anything, don't come outside. I'll still go outside anyway because I'm stubborn. But you know, she I leaned on my supports. It was hard to make decisions with things. So sometimes it was also I'm very, like I said, stubborn. So being able to delegate, making lists was something that helped me. Um, the meditation, like I said, I think that was a space for me to be able to sit with what I was going through because we try to find a way to just, all right, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to, it's messy, it's uncomfortable. And, grief it's messy and uncomfortable and brings on a lot of different feelings that, we don't really want to sit with. But I gave myself permission to do that. Um, my kids would be in class in their rooms next door to mine, and I'd be sitting there with, cards to help me give 'em some affirmations. I did grief cards, and I would just sit there for like maybe 40 minutes in the morning. Like that would be my practice. They're quiet. There's no disruption. I'm going to do my thing. I got into yoga. I started looking into yoga. I heard you, talking about like even breath work. That's something that, I've also incorporated. I did a lot of research. I put my nose in a lot of books related to grief. Um, I studied a lot, like, even on a spiritual side of things, it really opened my eyes in my healing practice too. Uh, I'm a firm believer more now than ever. Like I could say if I was talking to me like, 5 years ago, I might be like, all right, well, that's cool. That's your jam. I just didn't vibe with me, but it's changed me, talking to people that, tap into the metaphysical side. I'll be honest. I mean, it's a really healing opportunity. it was for me. It served me tremendously. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot out there that desensitization tanks or, floats. I met this guy, Tom, he's in Marlton. And I remember him saying like, so tell me about yourself. He kind of like sat in his chair. Tell me about yourself. And I was like your customer coming in and used your float. I don't know. But first thing I said, I'm like, I'm a widow. Like I didn't know what to say. It was so early on. It felt alien, but I had to like accept this is who I am. And had this, he had a journal that people were writing, and he's like, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know how this is going to, like, what's going to come of this, but pick a page. So he gave me the book. I picked a page and I opened up the page that someone wrote, "The world is yours for the taking." And I was like, okay, it stays with me. This has been now 5 years.
Wow.
And he did say to me too, that stuck with me was, you have more opportunities than you realize. And I didn't like, it's like, okay. I didn't know really what to expect from that, but he's right.
Yeah.
We find that like being a widow, you kind of get like stuck in, like, you feel like you're stuck in a box. You feel like, what, well, this is the rest of my life. And now I got to figure out, like, yeah, you have some things you got to figure out, but it doesn't have to be the rest of your life. There's things that you can do to help yourself, help others. Like my mission is also for my kids don't see me, laying in bed depressed and not taking care of myself, because what I'm doing is also empowering them going through this.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was my reason, like my why for a lot of things are my children.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, those were some pretty profound messages that I still hold on to and hear. I don't even like look at it I don't have a prompt. I'm just like, I just remember, and it serves me well.
It gave me chills as you're talking about it. For instance, something told him to show you that book. Something made you pick that one page and read it, and it really landed. It's what you needed to hear in that moment.
Yeah.
To keep moving forward. You have done some things also to honor your late husband and to keep the legacy going. You talk about community events and scholarships.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that and what was the real drive there?
So when Alex passed, obviously, and as your husband, being in a brotherhood,
Very much
you know,
so.
I know the guys were affected. They were, and the first, so it was 2019 in November. They ended up doing a festival, and they did well, yeah, a festival. I guess I'll call it. They called it Hoofy Fest. The name comes from an endearing name, thanks to his old coworker Judy, because she pointed out to me, called him Hoofy. It was just kind of a nickname. Some of the guys had these like little endearing nicknames. So Alex was called Hoofy. And they did a Hoofy Fall Fest. And it was on Alex's brother's birthday, the first one we did. It was awesome. We had live music. There was vendors. There was food trucks, beer trucks, or whatever. It was just a really nice community event for a community that was mourning, and us as well, family, friends. And his coworker Tim said, "We're going to do this every year." And I said, and it really, like, to me was just, I was like, "This is amazing. Thank you so much." I can't express enough gratitude. 2020, we couldn't do it because of just everything was still sketchy with the, pandemic and all that. But we picked it back up in 2021. And since then we had the last festival was actually the November 2nd of a few weeks ago. It's expanded, it's grown. There's a lot more people. They come, just kind of, it was 5 years. So I did a speech and I had to do a message, just kind of reiterating, like, why does this even exist? Why are we even doing this? However, moving forward since then, 2021 and on, some of the proceeds, not all, will go to the PBA, but also that includes the scholarship. We have a scholarship in Alex's name. He was an entrepreneur, as I've talked about, and we give to another high school student in the Barnegat High School. that is seeking to be an entrepreneur, him or herself, and they're gifted the money in Alex's memory.
That's amazing, Jaclyn. Amazing. What do your boys think of this?
I want to say they're proud. I don't think I really asked that question specifically. I'm going to say they're proud because, for one, his oldest, Kai or Caleb, is pursuing law enforcement himself. I'm like, oh, like that. Good for you. And he's also a EMT. So yeah, he's falling into the first responder path.
Yeah.
And he wears a lot of shirts. Like, he seems very proud. Connor, yeah, he's wearing, maybe not answering the question about the festival, but Connor's wearing Alex's clothes a lot. He fits in them more. He's 6'2". He's like 16 and 6'2" now. So he's yeah. No, it's funny. But I want to say they're proud. I really do. I think if I had to really just tap in and, the expression on their faces, they seem like they're proud of their dad being who he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. And for the whole community to be so involved in this.
Yeah.
Is just amazing. Amazing. Two big pieces, and we talk about this a lot on the show. You mentioned trust and grace.
Yes.
Or two. And as I was reading your chapter, thinking of the divine timing of you leaving that corporate, the state work, wanting to start something of your own right when this all happened, and COVID on top of it, forgiving yourself and the trusting that you are going to go back to your career, trusting the timing of it, but giving yourself grace during that period. How much is trust a part of your everyday life?
How much is
trust a part of your everyday life now?
It's I want to say it's 100%. I find trust. I guess I'm drawing blanks on this. It's a lot. Yeah. I guess to answer with, I believe things happen, and I know people are gonna hate hearing that for a reason when I say that. So I trust I'm supposed to be where I'm supposed to be. I trust, even the people that come to me that, are here to help me. I trust those that come in to see me, that want to help, want to live a better life, yeah, that's a big part of, who I am, part of my healing, a part of my service.
Sure. What would you say trust means to you?
What does it mean to me?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Trust to me is, I want to say, when my gut feels okay, I have trust. I feel like if I feel safe, there's trust. If it's a loaded question. I know it's not an easy thing that comes by to many people. And it doesn't matter what walk of life, whether they're widowed or not. I feel like trust it can be something, it is subjective. It depends on the situation, depends on that person. For me itself.
Yes. You're right. There's some people that just, when we talk about this with our team, they flip-flop, they second-guess themselves, they'll try something, and then they won't give it much time. And some we're chasing different versions of success, money, right, shiny object syndrome, squirrel, right? It's like, squirrel, oh, what am I supposed to do?
I'm right, right there. So it's funny because hearing you say that is, for me, I was always an indecisive person.
Really? I wouldn't know. I get that from you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I would, there were some things I was like, I'm going to go after and do, but then I'd be like, well, how do I do it? Do I go here? Do I go there? I don't know. Again, I had even Alex at the time, like, helping me with stuff. Like, when I chose to leave the corporate world, because I wasn't happy anymore. I wanted to pursue my own thing. I had a bigger vision for myself. I wasn't trying to get I wouldn't say he was guilting me, but he's like, this is a lot of changes we have to go through. And I'm like, yeah, well, I told him straight up, I'm like, I'm not happy. And I trusted that. Like, I wasn't trying to be convinced otherwise by anybody, even him, to just stick with it. I wanted to pursue my own, plan. And at that time was going to work for a state and umbrella the state, but was still to do stuff in homes. And, even now, I wouldn't be where I am now. Honestly, the space I have, the things I'm doing, had I not endured the pain that I had to endure.
And think of how many widows you've touched their lives after having gone through it yourself with your support group, with your therapy, online, in this chapter of the book as well. We love what you're doing. You really are bridging the traditional therapy with those new modalities when we see you online and on social media. Has that always been there, or you feel yourself doing that more and more these days?
I'm doing it more and more. I'm stepping outside my comfort zone.
Ooh, see, they trust.
I trust I'm making the right decision. I'm finding, I felt like I was kind of the person, like, I have to stay within the box. I have to do everything. And I'm not saying that. Yeah, I'm not being unethical. I'm doing my due diligence to make sure but I'm also cautious and teasing things out with my clients. Like, some people just want to come in and talk. Some people might be willing to come in and we can talk about other things outside of the typical, whatever's traditional therapy. So it's refreshing for me doing this.
I'm with you. We do very similar stuff at the Wealth Boutique. Right? Money's energy, right? And
Oh yeah.
around it, there's emotions, and there's some that they want the traditional route, which we can show up in that capacity. And there's others like, let's do money meditation because you feel very scattered. Let's just get grounded for a second, and then we can move forward. I'm with you on that, and it's fun, especially having the mix too for myself. I know that for you too, Jaclyn.
Yes.
As well. Oh, this has been an incredible conversation, Jaclyn. Thank you for being so vulnerable and honest. Thank you for pouring your heart out into your chapter of Rise and Find. It's a beautiful story when you go through all of it. Before we take a break, I just want to ask you one more question on the power of processing your emotions and your feelings. There are people and I'm one of those. I don't want to feel bad. I don't want to feel anger. I don't want to feel sadness, right? I want to push that out away from me as much as possible. For people like me, what would you say?
Honestly, I tell people, you're not a robot. You're going to have these feelings. You're going to be, it is all energy. Money's energy, feelings are energy. You acknowledge it. I feel that, if you try to suppress it, you try to stuff it, you try to, do anything but be with it, it's going to come back some other way. So, there's physical pains, there's, body keeps the score, looking up information in that book.
He keeps the score. Ooh, that's a good question.
It's a try. Yeah. The book?
I do not, but
Okay.
I just love that term.
I can give that information to you. Because if I try to say the clinician's name, I'm gonna really butcher it. But it's about trauma. So, I feel that, being real with yourself, I feel you can live more authentically, living with these uncomfortable feelings, but doing something about it too. I always tell myself, look, it's temporary. I could talk to you now about Alex 5 years later, but if we had just met, earlier on in my journey, I probably wouldn't be talking to you without like really breaking down. Because I sat with my feelings. I've been able to sit and process and take the time to just, be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And that's our problem. Like, we're all afraid of being vulnerable because what it equates to being weak, which is far from the truth.
Yeah. Brene Brown says it best, right? Being vulnerable is the most courageous thing that you can do.
100%. Yeah.
For it too. Thank you, Jaclyn. Thank you. Don't go anywhere, ladies. We're coming back with Jaclyn asking her some amazing questions. So we'll see you soon. At the Wealth Boutique, we know there's a different kind of wealth. It's not just about the dollars in your account, but that sense of freedom, confidence, and security that comes with it. We know that money isn't just about the math. It's so deeply intertwined with your emotions, values, aspirations. And it's your time. For too damn long, society has whispered in your ear, planting seeds of shame, guilt, greed, embarrassment around money. But here we say and do something different. We give you permission to be who you are meant to be, to spend where it feels good, and to invest where your heart is. Our female-focused team of advisors understands the unique financial journeys of women, couples, and their families. We're not here to just talk numbers. We're here to help you craft your own financial triumph story, one that reflects your goals and values. We open up our arms at the Wealth Boutique to guide you, be your confidant, your advocate, your ally, whether it's your retirement, financial plan, or estate plan. Let's craft your unique story and get started. All right, we are back with Jaclyn Hoffman, who is a therapist, talking about her chapter in Rise and Find, her journey through grief and trauma, tragedy, into this beautiful life she has now. You mentioned before we got on here, you also have a boyfriend. And wow, what was that like getting back into the dating world?
Very alien like. I'm gonna say, I say alien because it's just like it it's unusual. So, and I'll share this story. Again, I wholeheartedly believe in like the delivery of signs, the connections with our loved ones beyond this. Okay. So this story, some people that know me know this story, but I met this guy through my friend Christy, the one that likes to come to my house and like say, go away, I'll take care of business for you. She connected me with him, but we just started kind of talking. He's an electrician. I had problems on my property where the internet was just going off. Like it was just like, it was shutting off. And I think we had like a power surge or something. And, I have a chicken coop on my property, and the thing like had a light and it just like exploded. And I lost it. Like I'm like, I can't do this. I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I reached out to her. She was like my go-to. And she's like, just reach out to Ian. And I said, no, it's fine. I'll call Steve because he was my electrician anyway, but Steve was in Florida. I said, oh, I'll wait. And she said, no, just reach out to Ian. I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, there was something I said, and I don't know what I said, but I must have had a conversation with her. And she's like, she was probably waiting for me to like give her like a green light go. And she had him in mind. So I started talking to him. We took everything slow, obviously. And when I went to his house, we had lunch. I pulled up at his house and I saw his plate and I laughed. Backstory on that. Alex, I wholeheartedly with the signs feel that the number 55 resonates with Alex. If I see 55 on a license plate, if I see 55 on anything, I just know it's him just saying, hey, I'm here. I'm here. So I pulled up at Ian's house and look at his license plate and it said 55. And I said, you got to be kidding me. And I laughed and I walked up to the door and he was like, oh, you're laughing at my car because the type of car he's driving. I'm like, no, it's the plate and it's the number on the plate. So I believe that, there's a lot of synchronicities. I don't believe in coincidence. There's a lot of synchronicities between the both of us. So things are good.
Very interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
You got it.
I'm a big number believer too. My number is 4. Anything 4, I see 444 all the time.
Yeah.
I played basketball in college. My number was where my husband's was 41. So 4 is like very intertwined. So I don't know, Jaclyn, yeah, there are definitely signs and speaking to us as well.
Yes.
Well, on another note, it is time for your Rise and Find tip. What would you share with the viewers tonight?
My favorite tip I would say is to find meaning in your journey. Whether it's on a professional side. I know for me that's where like both professional and personal, my life experience has allowed me to pour into, on a professional side, to know that, I like what I'm doing. I appreciate what I'm doing. I have gratitude for what I'm doing. I'm happy with what I'm doing. I know I have meaning when I'm doing this. So finding that meaning in my journey, meaning and purpose, in what you do.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. So many of the women in the book have taken their pain and moved it into purpose. And you could tell it's just a heart led book.
Yeah.
It's really a heart led mission, the Rise and Find. And the title Rise and Find, right? Rising above it, finding who you are. Because to me, it's that evolution of who you are when you are healing, no matter what variable like you're healing. You find out who you are past the trauma, past the grief. And then when you might go through it again in a different capacity as well.
That's true. That is true.
Thank you. How about what is the trend that you're noticing with women lately? Maybe it's the widows that you work with, the women in therapy. You notice.
I think, this might actually capture both the financial and, let's say, like, the mental health side, but being more trauma informed. I've had a lot of women coming in and yeah, focusing on, wanting to be, if it's happier in a relationship that they have, or finding more of a purpose, but, you know, separating from the experiences that they've had that were traumatic, um, from their past. So I feel like there's, yeah, that kind of awareness, being more aware, um, and taking advantage of the time, in my practice to work on, through modalities to help them process and to establish if it's trust or, finding themselves.
Yes. We had a book, Divorce Decoded, come out earlier this year, and we had a therapist in it as well who helps women going through divorce. And she mentioned something similar. And she goes, I'm a reality check for a lot of these women. Is this normal behavior for a relationship, or is this narcissistic behavior? Is it abuse, trauma that they're dealing with? So I can see that we've been dealing with it a lot, Jaclyn, with the financial abuse. And I was talking with my girlfriends about it, and they're like, "Well, we don't feel abused. We just don't know what's going on with the money." I'm like, "There's a choice to not know what's going on with the money, but if they are hiding it, lying about it, being sneaky about it, being manipulative about it, putting you down, you're too dumb to be involved in this. You're not smart enough. You don't make money." Um, there's different, and then there's even beyond that fraud, which unfortunately we experience as well. But we've noticed more women kind of picking their heads up and saying, "Is this normal that he hides everything from me?" It's like, a form of financial abuse that we're seeing. Um, or understanding that there was traumatic events happened earlier in their life, and that's why they're acting a certain way with money.
Yes. Yeah.
See that a lot too, and probably similar for you as well.
Yeah, I've had some people come in and, talk about, even if they're struggling financially or they're not happy with their job or something, and then somehow, like, it becomes a conversation about money. Is like, what is your relationship with money? What was your relationship even younger? How did your parents, or your caregivers, whoever raised you, how did they view money? And it kind of helped me develop more, like, insight on, maybe how they apply that to where they are now.
Sure. Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful, Catherine. Well, we have one more question for you as we round up the show tonight.
What makes you a woman behind the millions?
So I am someone that has walked through the darkest moment of her life. And, I chose to keep moving forward. I chose not to allow grief to consume me. While I still might have those moments, I allow it to be there, but I don't let it consume my whole self. And I keep moving forward in life.
You do. And you're just an amazing, empowering example as somebody who's gone through it. And then from the legacy side to giving back, your support groups, your boys, it's incredible to see. So thank you again for sharing this story. What was it like reflecting on it and writing about it?
I felt like I was almost writing like a journal entry. Like, I felt I was, because I've written about stuff. I've done journaling as well. I just felt like I was just kind of just pouring my life onto a page. But when I saw, like, what I've written, I was kind of, I'm more of a humble person. I tend to, I don't want to say minimize, but I sometimes do that, and I looked at what I've done and, comparing even to stories of women that are, coming in to see me, you know, it puts things into perspective. Like I don't give myself enough credit for what I've gone through. It was a true honor to be able to share the story, really, to be able to hopefully shed some light on some other, women or anyone that reads the book that can resonate with the story that, you can, find a way to keep moving forward in a powerful way or have some, meaning in your life and not feel like your life just comes to a screeching halt and nothing more comes after, the loss. Because there is a lot more of living.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, it's such an empowering story. And we often say, right, it's a privilege to share your story and it's a privilege to hear your story for it. And think of women who experience a loss like that, how lonely they must feel.
Yeah.
Your story is allowing them not to feel so alone during those moments. So again, thank you for pouring your heart out onto those pages. Um, I noticed that it's a huge reflecting back on because we're just moving through life and on to the next. When you look back over how much you've overcome and what you've done,
Yeah.
it's a very good, healthy exercise. We'll say activity to do. So, thank you, Jaclyn. Where can everybody find you? Where can everybody find you?
They can find me. So my website is www.jaclynhoffman.com. So my name.com. I have a web page that has both my practices. So one is Shore Awakenings, which you can find on Facebook and Instagram, and also Soulful Journeys. Is my other for coaching. So that's also on Instagram. It's at Soulful Journey 55. That's my number. And then also on Facebook, it's also Soulful Journeys.
And there she is.
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, you have a very grounding energy about you, so I can see why women are very drawn to you.
I appreciate it.
So thank you for being on Women Behind the Millions, and make sure to tune in for our next season, which will be our Beyond the Broker season, all dealing with women in finance. Thank you, Jaclyn, and we get to celebrate the book release together tonight. Okay, great. Stay tuned. Make sure you grab your copy of Rise and Find. We'll do one more promo.
As women, we wear many hats: mother, professional, partner, leader. But what if we didn't have to fit into a box? Introducing Rise and Find, an ambitious woman's guide to building her dream life. A powerful new anthology written by 13 inspiring women who have dared to dream bigger, push boundaries, and break free from limitations. Inside these pages, you'll find actionable advice on everything from personal growth and financial wellness to career advancement and self-care, all from the women who have mastered their fields. Whether you're looking to elevate your career, nurture your relationships, or reclaim your personal power, Rise and Find has the tools and inspiration you need to build your dream life. Get your copy of Rise and Find and join the movement of ambitious women rising together. Your dream life is waiting. Let's rise together.
Oh man, what an episode with Jaclyn Hoffman going through that grief. I think about it all the time with my husband being a police officer that this could happen. And I always say to him when he leaves on the phone, be safe, be safe. Comes from my mom. She'd always say, come home to me safe. Even if she was leaving, she would tell me to come home safe. Doesn't really make sense. But I brought up the finances here, and I want to take a moment to talk about the 3 pillars of legacy. Right? We have our estate documents, which we have a new partnership. We're able to help facilitate that with our clients. Then there's the funding of your estate. And you do that through your assets, your house, life insurance is a big one, especially if you have young kids. You don't have a ton of assets left. You have a mortgage, the kids' college, right? All of these costs. Even if you are a non-working spouse, to replace you, they would have to pay somebody to do all the things that you do. And that costs money as well. Too. And then you have the legacy. And we talked about that with Jaclyn in her story on that. Was it the Hoffy Fest? What a great name, building up and having a scholarship, something to remember your loved ones by, something to remember you by. We started a scholarship this year with Financial Trendsetters, raising money for a financial scholarship for a young woman who wants to study finance. So we can get her into our world as well and keep more women here for it too. So just kind of a check for you right now. Do you have your estate documents and have they been updated? Usually in the last 5 years, we want to see, or a triggering event, marriage, kids, divorce, loss of a loved one, right? Any of those, grandkids, your children getting married, all of that warrants to review them, the funding of them. And then last piece, your money manifesto, your legacy, and making sure your money values translate to that next generation. Well, we will see you next season on Women Behind the Millions as we go beyond the broker with a whole new repertoire of incredible women here at Pink Fix Productions. We'll see you then. Hey, money queens, looking to get your wealth to that next level, 7, 8, 9 figures? Follow us on Instagram at PinkFixMyMoney and at Women's Wealth Boutique for more millionaire money tips.